Hey folks, today I am in Massachusetts at 1357 Recording Studio with my friend Monty Arnstam. So we're gonna do a studio tour and I hope you dig it. I am so excited. I see the gear, I see the drums, and I can't wait to get to all that. But first off, what can you tell me about yourself?
Been playing drums since I was about 13. As it happens with a lot of drummers I know, you end up doing rehearsals at the drummer's house and then one thing leads to another. Let's record some stuff, let's demo some stuff, and the ball's been rolling ever since, you know?
So this is a commercial studio and you record all sorts of music here?
All sorts of music. I mean, I'd be lying if I said I didn't really love recording with bands. Record singer-songwriters, hip-hop artists, you name it, so a little bit of everything. As you can see, this is the control room. This is where I spend most of my time. You know, we got the desk right here. I got some storage, got a little fridge for everyone to drop their drinks or snacks, whatever. Places to sit, hang out, eat. We had a 32-channel AMR console down here. The preamps are great, the EQ is really cool, but you know, I had a lot of outboard gear I was integrating, and I had a big huge rack right next to the console, and it just got kind of crowded up here. So I kind of migrated all the outboard gear into this desk, so I had everything I was using kind of more regularly right in front of me.
So this rig works better for your workflow.
Being as though I don't really do a lot of analog mixing because, you know, as you know, Ryan, people have a lot of, you know, mix revisions and stuff. So as much as I'd love to do that and mix in person and be like, this is what we're doing, you know, doing things in the box is kind of the majority of the way I do stuff.
Is this sort of your preamp section?
Exactly. So these are most of my preamps. Got 24 preamps on this side and I can just plug in a mic, get gain, hit record, we're good. If I want to patch in an EQ, just a patch cable or two. And it's the same for mixdown too. If I want to use EQ or compression on mixdown with this sort of hybrid setup I have going, it's super easy. The way it used to be when I had the desk here, if I wanted to use any of my outboard, the outboard was to the side over here, so I was kind of moving out of the sweet spot.
Yep.
Now if I'm EQing a snare or a kick or a guitar or whatever, everything's right here in front of me. I'm not leaning a certain way, doing anything weird. I'm just in the sweet spot. I can hear everything clearly and it makes my job way easier. I love compression on drums specifically because I'm a drummer.
Yeah.
But I've kind of gotten away from using too much compression on the way in just because there have been situations where maybe I had something set the way I thought I liked it.
You burned yourself.
I burned myself.
Yeah.
Or you make it work.
Yeah.
EQ's a little bit different because a lot of times, at least when I am EQing sources, I'm not like boosting a ton of stuff. I'm usually just like kind of sucking some mids out of like a tom or like maybe boosting the fundamental or whatever.
So you rarely regret that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
For me, it's a bit more forgiving, not to mention the fact that like over the years I've collected a lot of really nice EQs where like, I mean, you know, you got some API stuff too, for example.
Yeah.
It's like you can't really make it sound bad.
Yeah.
Whereas you can over compress a snare and you're like, man, that's a little too slammed or it's kind of sounds splatty or whatever and the dynamics aren't the way that I want them. I have a few different types of gear I like to use on the mix bus just to give it some sauce.
Nice.
And the VP28s right here, those are like multiple stages, and even just running a mix through those, it's one of those things where like, you know, people talk about like, oh, it's like magic this or magic that. Like I think you talked about that in your last video, and I'm not really a believer in any of that stuff too. But, you know, sometimes it might just be it's a little bit louder and your ears tell you that that's good. And the band likes it too, so it works, you know?
You know, I'm not going to say no to a magic 1 to 3% improvement in something.
Yeah, and it makes the band feel better too, and it's something fun for us as engineers, you know?
I'm not trying to discredit this stuff. I'm actually trying to appreciate it. It's mojo.
Totally.
And if gear inspires you, it inspires me. I think preamps are awesome and I want more of them, but I can also be honest with myself that to me they don't quantifiably make a huge difference.
Definitely not. I mean, one thing I've noticed with more high quality preamps is that, you know, like APIs for example, they run really hot. Like you have one of the ones, I forget what the model is, but it's got the output trim, which is nice. Yep. But even though like the 3124, that thing could be like in the red the whole time and I'm like, it sounds good, you know? Yeah. Whereas like a lot of cheap preamps, like that console, for example, if you hit that thing too hard, it wasn't like digital clipping, but it was like a harmonic distortion that like just didn't sound good to me.
Yeah, there was some like 90s gear that I've used that just has a distortion that's like it makes things smaller
Totally.
I don't know what it is or why that is or how to exactly describe it, but it's not the distortion you're going for.
Exactly.
I think.
I mean, no one likes digital clipping. So, if you have decent mics, decent equipment, a decent source, a decent player, you get good levels on it, like, it's going to sound good. And like you said, I don't think that the preamp itself, or even the mic to a certain extent, is going to, like, make or break it. It's like, if it's good, if the source is good, the performance is good, it's going to be good.
So all that said, thinking about the fun and mojo of gear, what are some of your favorite pieces in your desk here?
Well, let's see. I mean, all of these preamps, with the exception of a few kind of more oddball ones, are mostly like API style, because I'm a drummer. Growing up, it was always like, oh, API, they're like the most punchy preamps. And I fell into the trap, but like I said, when you slam those preamps, they sound good. So my ears kind of made that decision for me too. I love the distressors. They're super versatile. I use those on bass, on snare. I've used them on mix bus before. Probably my favorite piece of outboard that's not a preamp that I use like pretty much every session is this Warm Audio. It's like a CL1B clone.
Right.
I've used like 2As before, and I don't know if I'm just like maybe don't understand quite how to like dial it in the right way. This has kind of been like more or less a set it and forget it thing. I'll make some minimal adjustments, but I've used that on like metal vocal, bass guitar, really sensitive singer-songwriter vocals, and it just like always does the thing that I want it to do.
What can you tell me about your monitors? Do you have a subwoofer in addition to this, or?
Believe it or not, I don't. I had a subwoofer for a while and was using some different monitors, some Cali audio, I forget the model, and they were actually really great.
Yeah, I've heard good things about those.
Yeah, I felt that things weren't really translating as well, and pretty much everyone that I've ever talked to about Barefoots is like, oh, you're not going to regret it. So I got the Footprint 01s because they're a good size for this room and kind of took away the need for a subwoofer, and almost immediately I felt like everything translated really well.
Nice. Well, I can't wait to hear them later.
They slam. They're really great. I mean, I would say anyone looking at a pair of monitors that, I mean, they're expensive, don't get me wrong, but that's probably the most important thing in a recording studio is being able to hear everything clearly. And a lot of that, as you know, is like, acoustic treatment and stuff like that, but getting something that translates where it's fairly flat, you can hear everything the way you need it to, I think is an important investment.
I see there are some clouds up above and some corner traps and things.
We accumulated a collection of some lightly used things that we framed up and put on the wall. A lot of the acoustic treatment that you see, in fact, I think all of it in all of the rooms at this point, it's on a French cleat. So it basically, the two pieces of wood kind of sit inside of each other.
Yeah.
So you can actually take them off the wall, which is cool. I don't do it as much as I could, but it's kind of nice because in that instance, not so much in here, but like in the smaller room or in the garage, you can actually take them right off the wall and use them to kind of like isolate amps or use them as gobos and that kind of thing, which is really cool.
One thing I want to say for anybody that's watching and isn't aware of this, we've got carpet and a rug on the floor. We have things in the room. We have curtains on the windows, and we have 2 couches. Those are giant bass traps, in case you didn't know. All those things will affect and generally help the acoustics in your room.
So in here, I'll turn some light on. In here, this is kind of like, we'll isolate amps, we'll do vocals in here. You can see I have some of like my smaller amps, some bass cabs in here if we want to isolate bass guitars in here. This is where I got a lot of little percussion tchotchkes and whatnot for percussion overdubs, which oftentimes if we're doing vocals and then we decide to do some overdubs, we'll do percussion overdubs with the mic that's set up and ready to go.
Yeah, and I like the decor in here, the old siding and stuff.
Yeah, so that's cozy. Actually pallet wood.
Nice.
Yeah, I had a bunch of pallets. We were going to burn them, and we just pried them apart and put them on the wall. I don't know acoustically necessarily what it does. I'm sure it must do something.
I think it's diffusion. It's fine.
But it looks cool, and it's a vibe.
And you have clear line of sight here to you out in front of the desk.
Yeah, which, depending on how the lighting is or what time of day it is, there can be some reflections, but you can see clearly, and it's good because you can hear each other through the talkback if people are on headphones, but it's good to be able to see each other.
Yeah, and you have this angled setup, 2 panes of glass here.
There is.
Inside and outside.
Yeah, and the thing that I was always told is, you know, you put them in an angle because it helps, you know, diffuse the sound waves that get caught in between the glass vibrating.
Mm-hmm.
That was how we built it, and it's been great. We made sure to try to not get any fingerprints on
Right.
it, because if there's any fingerprints on that inside, like, it's there forever. So
Yeah.
I thought we did a pretty good job.
Awesome. Yeah, no, it looks really good.
This is the Rock Reverb 100. This is one of my favorite amps. I have a lot of people that come through that have either never used Orange, or some people have never even heard of it. But I got a really good deal on this amp. It was pretty much like from the original owner. Got the cab from a buddy of mine. I forget what speakers are in it, but it sounds incredible. Super heavy. Try not to move it as much as possible. But it was a perfect match. So these get used all the time.
Like, what genres do you use that head on?
Heavier stuff more often than not. But I have used it for some clean stuff too. People always talk about Fender reverb, which is awesome. I mean, it's definitely one of the better reverbs, but I love the reverb on this. It's a bit more like full sounding, kind of, you feel a bit more drenched in it. But yeah, I really love this amp a lot. This is my buddy Alan's Supro Tremo Verb. This thing is amazing. I have the deluxe reverb. I don't remember the years of anything or anything like that, but sounds good. I also got a Princeton. This is a Vox pacemaker down here. And actually, this is a hidden gem right here. It doesn't have the grill that comes stock with it, but this is the Vox Night Train. Definitely check this out online. I've gotten so many compliments on this amp, and I think you can buy it like brand new for $400, and it's amazing.
Nice.
I've used it for literally everything. I mean, super heavy distorted stuff, super clean stuff. It's got a bunch of really cool different modes with how to set the transistors and stuff. I don't really know that much about how it actually works, but I know that sounds good.
Yeah.
So,
what's the difference between a deluxe and a Princeton?
with these two in particular, the biggest difference is the speaker size. This has a 12-inch speaker in it, and this has a 10. This is also slightly less power, so it's not as loud. It's a smaller speaker. The Princeton tends to kind of fart out if you are playing too heavy or too hard. But if you want to do like clean, full-sounding stuff that's not too loud, that amp is amazing. Usually if I want something a bit louder, I'll use the deluxe. And both of them, the reverb circuit is amazing. I mean,
Cool.
Fender reverb is classic. So
Okay, yeah, I like that. That's informative. And then you've got a Bassman here. What's the use case for that?
the Bassman 100 we use quite a bit. This is like the normal bass amp, if you will. I say normal because it kind of does everything. Whereas like I've got the big heavy SVT and all that kind of stuff too, and those crank. But this kind of just does a little bit of everything. You could play jazz with it, blues, and it is very powerful, but it's easy to dial in a quieter tone too. And that's also why I just have in here, so I don't have to move stuff, I have a 410 or a 115, so you can use it with either or, depending on kind of what we're going for.
So is the next place the live room then?
Yeah, we can
Okay.
go to the live room.
Let's go to the live room. All right, and just real quick, you got the double sliding doors here.
I do, and you'll notice I have tape on both sides
Yeah.
that says this door is closed.
Yeah.
And the reason why is because I can't tell you how many times people have wailed this thing.
Oh, I would.
Trevor, one time when we were doing an album here, he hit this thing so hard I thought he broke his nose. We were all laughing, but and then once we stopped laughing, I was like, man, are you okay? It was bad. So I started putting the sign on it on both windows so you can tell. My fiance and I, we bought this property from her family about 6 years ago. And her family ran a truck cap business here for many, many years. I had a studio in a town over, me and some of my buddies recording our own bands and stuff. And when we were trying to figure out what to do with this building, kind of just made sense to move all the gear over here. And that kind of snowballed the whole thing. So it kind of started off actually in those 2 rooms that we were first in, because there was still a lot of her parents' stuff in here. Mm-hmm. And as we worked through all that stuff and were able to sell things and get rid of things, it just kind of blossomed. And this made the most sense to be the main live room because it's kind of in between all the other rooms. There's good line of sight between everything. There's good isolation between everything. You can see I do have some acoustic treatment on the walls and whatnot in here too, but I also didn't want it to be too tight, because I do like a room to sound like a room.
Yeah, it's live, and there's just plenty of stuff in the room for
Definitely.
diffusion.
So this is my Hammond M3. This was completely gone through and, refurbished to basically like new condition by Boss Organ in
Nice. Yeah,
Boston.
I see that there. Yeah, I also have an M3, but it's kind of just original.
Yeah, this is mostly original. The only thing that they added is it's got this little thing right here with a volume control, so you can actually take this. You can use the internal speaker, or if you want, you can plug this into any amplifier you want, and it's got its own independent volume control.
That's great. Okay, so you can mute the speaker with the pedal.
Correct.
And then you can use that to an external setup.
Exactly.
Nice.
Which is cool because you can crank it through a half stack or something if you want
to. Well, let's quickly go over to, you've got even more serious organ stuff over here. What are we looking at here?
Yeah, so this is a B3, a Hammond B3. This is my buddy Alan's. One thing kids should know out there is if you build it, they will come. I've got other people that work here, record here, a handful of other engineer friends of mine that I trust and love who have worked here. And people end up leaving their stuff here, which is cool because they're like, you can use it too. So the B3 gets used all the time. This Leslie gets used all the time. That's my buddy Mark's Rhodes. That thing sounds amazing. Okay. So this is kind of like Keys World.
Nice.
It does eat into the room a little bit, but for the amount that we use it, I think it's worth it.
No, it's a good little station there. This is the kind of stuff I geek out on. It's like, oh, this is so neat, and everything's right there. I just love it. Like, I could work here. I need something like that. So what can you say about the organization of your essentials over here?
Well, I've never been diagnosed with OCD. I don't know if I actually have OCD, but I like things to be a certain way. I like to if I need something, I know where to find it. I don't have to scramble. Some people can work like that. I can't.
Yeah, you can work faster, and if your brain is not stressing out about those things, you can work better and more creatively.
It's a bit more time consuming after sessions are over because for me, I have to make sure everything is back where it needs to be.
Right.
But then it's where it needs to be when we're setting up, which is more important because we can't afford to waste time looking for stuff. When a band's coming in for a day like today and they want to track a bunch of music, we just got to know where everything is. So I spent a lot of time kind of keeping everything organized. Everything has a place and I know where to find it.
Yeah, I love it. So real quick, here's some cool basses. These are fairly unique. Is that a Gibson?
Yeah, that's my buddy John's Gibson Flying V. He lives right down the road. Everyone loves that thing. It's a little awkward to hold if you're sitting down.
And has to hang from one of these headstock things.
Yeah, or you got to stand up and play it. But that guitar looks amazing. It's fairly rare as far as I know. You don't get to see a lot of Flying V basses. Yeah. And then this quote-unquote Fender P bass, I don't actually know the story behind this burl maple neck, but this thing is really heavy. But I put some Geezer Butler EMGs in it. It's a Warmoth body, and then one thing that's really neat is it's got this drop tuner right here. Yeah. So with the flick of a little thing, you can just drop the tuning real easy, and it's set so it's actually in tune when you drop it.
Gotta have a nice fat P bass in the studio. All right, let's get to the drum set that you have set up here. Is this the one that you brought to my studio?
Yeah, so I was gonna say you might recognize this set from the Slob Drop Robot Dog video. It's just a great all-around drum set. I've always been kind of obsessed with the old Made in Japan kits. So this is a Tama Rockstar DX. I think over the years word has kind of gotten out about a lot of the older Made in Japan kits. They're still fairly affordable, but...
do you know the year on this, or approximately?
Early 90s for sure, because the series is a Rockstar DX, which they only made in the early 90s. And I think the main differences between the Rockstar and the Rockstar DX is some of the hardware is maybe a bit more rugged.
Is this your main kit? Is this kind of like your favorite all-around kit, or?
People ask me all the time, what's your favorite kit? And it's I love them all. They all do different things. This is a kit I've grown to love over the years because with the way I've set it up, it records well for heavier music. And it's also I got it for cheap and it already had a bunch of dings and dents and stuff on it. So I don't really care if it gets beat up on a session or when I'm backlining on a gig or something like that.
And this is the one you're kind of assuming you're going to use on the session today.
Yeah, because this was the same kit we used on the last session, and the drummer from Woundlicker, he really, really liked it. So we'll probably start here. If we need to change things, we can.
Nice. What kind of headphone system are you using? Because people will ask about that kind of thing.
So I'm using the Behringer PowerPlay 16 system, which is kind of overkill. I used to have a Furman system where it was basically like 4 mono and then 1 stereo, I think it was. There were some limitations. This kind of makes it so I can send whatever to whatever, and the artist can kind of manipulate their mixes however
So you
they
have
want.
good results with this. You're psyched with that setup.
It's been great, and it's also really, really easy, and I'm not using any of my analog inputs or outputs because on my interface in there, my Orion, it's actually got enough ADAT in and out so that I can send 16 channels digitally. So I don't even have to do anything. It's all over Ethernet, and I can send up to 16 mono channels or 8 stereo channels to the bands, and each individual person can have their own headphone mix. I usually end up helping them obviously dial it in, but they can control anything on the fly.
I gotta just get the highlights here because I see this bright pink offset V. What is that?
So this is my buddy Mark's guitar. He picked this up from my other buddy Ben Regal. It's a Schaefer. I don't know, I had never heard of this until he found it, but it's this weird kind of silly putty pink.
Yeah, it's sick, like peak 80s.
Oh, it's amazing. And he actually modded the whole thing, so there's no volume, there's no tone. You literally just plug in and shred.
I love it.
Yeah, so it's definitely been modded. There's an EMG in here. People love this guitar. It looks cool. It's definitely attention drawing.
Yeah,
for sure.
That would be fun for the video.
So this is my mic locker right here. Ribbons up here. Cascade fatheads. R88, AA, R88. That thing's awesome. I've got some M160s. What's in here? Oh, yeah, this is like a vintage Shure mic my buddy gave me. This is a Neutrell, which is I'm pretty sure super rare. So this is very, very dark in a cool way. It contrasts really, really well with something brighter
What kind of mic is it? Is it a ribbon?
Yeah, it's a ribbon mic. These are all ribbon mics. Yeah, this one's really cool too.
Yeah, I don't know that one, so that's
I forget the model number on this one.
Looks like a Norelco Razor from from 1955.
I know. I could use a shave. Both of these are very dark. And then I've got a pair of M160s. I think this is the N22. Yep, this is the N22 and AA N22. That's a really great mic that can handle a lot of sound pressure level. I've got my FET 47 clone right here. This is forget the brand on this. United FET 47 clone. Use that on Kickout. My Soyuz, those are my favorite condenser mics. The 013s, 421s. This mic is really cool. I don't even remember where this came from, but this is like the radio effect. It sounds like you're talking into a radio or something like that.
Yeah.
So this mic is really cool.
Love that.
If you can tell on camera, it's kind of army colored. Maybe it was like a military mic at some point. Really, really cool microphone. It's a total vibe mic.
And do you have a pad or something attached to it?
No, so it's weird the way it's got a female plug on it.
Oh, okay.
So I just had to put a turnaround on it so that you can just plug a mic cable into it.
Yeah, I love geeky little details like that. And you've got it right on there.
I probably should just have a dedicated wire for it so that you don't have as much stuff
That looks perfect.
But it
looks
works
good
fine.
to me, yeah.
I've never had any issues with it. So I got a couple of the 635 Omni mics. These are wonderful. Those have gotten really expensive over the years for no apparent reason.
What do people use those on drums? Like 60s drum sound or something?
Totally. I mean, it was used for vocals a lot back in the day, but this is an Omni. So one of my favorite things to do with this mic is put it as a crotch mic or a knee mic on drums. It picks up all the shells of the drums perfectly, nice low end.
Nice.
So I love that mic. And then, I got DIs. I got some other condenser mics. These are 414 clones.
Yeah, and what's your go-to vocal mic for a heavy band, and what's your go-to vocal mic for a singer-songwriter?
9 times out of 10 for stuff that's a bit less abrasive, if you will. I have a really nice warm tube microphone that I like to use through that CL1B compressor I was telling you about. Mm-hmm. And then when you have someone who's going to be grabbing the mic or yelling into the mic, all that, the SM7B is classic.
Yeah, we're used to hearing screamers and belters through that mic, so it works.
And everyone talks about Michael Jackson or whatever, but my memory of this microphone was watching Anthony Kiedis in the studio when they were doing Blood Sugar Sex Magic. There was like a video that I remember watching when I was a kid, and I always was like, what's that mic he's singing on? So whenever I see this thing, I always think of Anthony Kiedis singing that.
Nice.
Singing into it. So, and I've always been a huge fan of the Red Hot Chili Peppers ever since I was a little kid. So.
Yeah. One last thing, I see a speaker in the mic cabinet. Can you just talk about that briefly?
Yeah, so...
I have a guess as to what that might be, but...
Yep, so this is a sub kick that I rigged up. So it's just wired in reverse. So it acts like a microphone. This is from a Yamaha monitor. There was a pair of them, and one of them was missing one, so it wasn't like I could use the monitors themselves.
Yeah, classic studio trick. Do you find yourself using that much?
I use it fairly often, but it really is only good for like super low end, frequencies. You really don't get any, top end with these at all. So, this is something I'll use just when I want to get a little more out of the drums. This is an AKG. I forget the exact model on this one. I think there's a difference between the one where it has the mount directly to it versus the shock mount. But this is a great kick drum mic too. And it's got some adjustments on it, and a built-in pad on it.
So is that a newer mic or is that a vintage thing?
This is vintage, and I don't remember. Oh, I got it from my buddy Dustin, who also got me that Shure ribbon mic. This one needed some work, but Cole's Vintage in Nashville, he does work on all of my microphones. It's worth sending it to him because he's A, fast, B, affordable, and C, pretty much the best at his job. So if you ever need mic work, definitely Cole's Picks Vintage in Nashville. He's the man. Nice. And as busy as he is, he turns stuff around real quick. So he rigged this up and some other mics that I had that were otherwise in non-working order so that I could use them, and they get used all the time. So great.
I guess give me a quick overview of this drum collection, kind of left to right. What are we looking at?
Well, as I mentioned before, I've been a drummer for 23 years now. I love drums. I like how they all have a story. I like how they all have their own kind of voice, and it changes the way that I play or musicians coming to record play too. Yeah, I mean, it's a hybrid of, I've got a lot of close buddies who also have really good drum collections. I have really good relationships with a lot of local drum shops. I guess maybe owning a studio is an excuse to hoard drums, but I play them all, and they all have a different voice, and it's nice to be able to offer musicians the selection because, most studios have really good, or at least a decent snare collection, maybe some kick drums, but I've just collected all of it because I love all of it and I use all of it.
Yeah, it's great. It's one of the reasons you come to a studio.
Totally. First kit on the left is actually like the first real nice vintage drum set that I bought. Years ago, I used to play in a band, Orange Television, and Howie, the singer, grew up in Long Island. He was like, hey, there's a guy who lives around here who's selling a bunch of stuff. So I got this White Marine Pearl kit with a big thing filled with hardware and all that for like $300.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
When was this?
Probably 16 years ago, 15 years ago. You can't make this drum set sound bad. In fact.
Yeah. Well, now it is a $2,000 to $3,000 drum set.
Oh, yeah. I mean, to the right buyer. I've actually been offered just for this floor tom specifically like $1,000 because you can't really tell on the wall, but it's like deeper than a normal 16-inch floor tom. It's actually, I think it's a square tom. So it's funny because when I set it up how I play, it's like a few inches from the ground.
Yeah.
But I've gotten offered good money for that floor tom, but it's part of the kit and I'll never get rid of it. This is a psychedelic red Ludwig 3-ply. This is one of those things where it's like, maybe I am a drum hoarder because I have the same exact kit in a different finish. This one's a different year, and the serial numbers are
sequential. Well, the psychedelic red is magic.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I've dreamt about this kit my whole life, and I got a really, really good deal on it. And normally when you find these kits, especially one this old, this is from 1970, normally the wrap is pretty faded. And the reason why they're kind of rare, at least from my understanding, is that not only did the wraps fade, but the original wraps like this, they were extremely flammable. So back in the 60s and 70s, guys were smoking cigarettes, doing the whole thing,
God.
and things would catch on fire. So I think it was like a safety thing.
And then I'm just curious, there's a sort of similar looking kit down here. What is that?
I think it's Mercury USA. You know, this is just one of those old, you know, stencil made in Japan kits.
I love how it's USA and it's made in Japan.
I know, right? Well,
interesting.
yeah, so the way the stencil kits worked back in the day is these big, you know, department store type, you know, places would basically buy these shells from Japan, all made in the same factory, and they would brand them accordingly to whatever warehouse or department place was buying them. So I don't know the story behind the Mercury USA, but I mean, I bought this specifically because of the wrap.
Yeah.
And it sounds amazing. And the 20-inch bass drum.
20 inch.
Because I don't really have a lot of 20-inch bass drums.
Yeah, I mean, looks pretty nice. I noticed it's an 8-lug kick drum too. A lot of those stencil kits were like 6-lug, so kind of a little nicer in that regard too. How does that kit sound?
It sounds amazing. Also, it's been a cheat code for me doing gigs where, like, let's say I'm gigging with a band and there's a very small stage, we're at a bar or something like that. I'll bring this kit out because I can still get a nice full sound and a nice punchy kick drum, but it takes up a lot less room on stage.
I love it. Moving down the way here, you've got a Yamaha. Which model is that?
I think it's the Yamaha 8000. So it's basically the same shells as a recording custom, but with different lugs on it. It was the same thing. It was dinged up, it was beat up, but it sounds incredible. Down here I've got my vintage, I think this is from the 80s, Thomas Superstar. This is a birch kit. Sounds amazing. Shallower toms, which is nice. I've got 2 rack toms, floor tom, 22-inch bass drum. Love that
cool.
drum set. Another great deal on that I got years and years ago from a buddy of mine. And then I've got my big Gretsch kit. This is a stop sign kit. I only have a couple Gretsch kits. They're both stop signs, which they only made for a few years in the early 70s, I believe. Someone can tell me if I'm wrong. But this one's 24, 18, 14, 15.
Damn, big kit.
Yeah, I rarely play the 15.
What do you think of the 24-inch kick? What is that useful for, or how does that affect things compared to a 22, which is more common?
I feel like the 22 is a bit more versatile, but you can get mammoth kick drum sounds with this.
Like what kind of genres do you like the 24 in?
Usually like heavier stuff, rock, but also things where maybe there's not a lot of fast notes happening.
You need more space for the drum to boom.
Exactly. So if it's a really, really fast band, this might not be the best choice, but if it's like a rock band or a doom band, something like that, which I've used this plenty of times for that kind of stuff, it sounds amazing. These have Jasper shells, so they're super thin. They sound amazing. Tons of resonance. I mean, you can't make them sound bad.
Nice.
This is where I keep all of my snares up here. That's the Superstar snare, which I didn't get with that kit, but when I found it at Wood and Weather Drum Shop, my buddy Joey hooked me up. This is a Art Star snare. It's 14 by 8. One of my buddies, Murph from Dinosaur Jr., recorded on a snare just like that, but Yamaha's version of it. And I know that Dave Grohl used to tour with that snare. So that was another one of those things that popped up on Reverb for like $250 or something.
Oh my gosh.
And so I was like, I just bought it.
That's a pricey drum.
Definitely. And, you know, I'm a sucker for deals like that. And it's usually when I like can't really afford the extra $200-300, but I'm like, I can't pass up this
do
deal.
it, yeah.
The Thomas snare right next to that is super rare. You know, the classic LM402. Bonham snare. You know, you can use that for anything. That's like the most classic rock sound. Yeah. The Black Beauty right next to that, same thing. Those are probably 2 of the most recorded snare drums.
What are your top 3 studio snare drums?
I would say top 3 would probably be the Sonar Compressor, the 2 Superphonics, we'll call that 1, and then...
Cheating.
I know, right? And then the Bell Brass.
Nice. I love that.
Cool.
I see another room back there. Could you just talk about what that is?
Yeah, so this is the second live room. This is where we keep like our bigger amps, like half stacks.
Holy crap, what is this?
Yeah.
You got the 9-piece Tama.
Yeah. I have so many stories. That's another thing I love about collecting drums. It's like, it's such a good story. It's like, I'm like living the story every time I play the drums.
This is a great room. Look at all look at all the gear in this room.
Yeah.
You're holding out on me here.
I know. Yeah. We got some cool stuff. Like I said, you know, I've been collecting a long time, but I also have a lot of friends that are like, cool, you have a studio. I have a full stack. Like, let me just leave it over here. And
Do you practice with your band here? Or?
I do.
Yeah.
I do, which, like, I'll be honest, for most things, including rehearsals, this huge drum set is like so ridiculous.
Yeah.
But it's kind of a cool challenge. And I have another buddy who practices here too, and he's like, I love playing on that huge kit. It's such a challenge. So
Is that 9-piece or?
I don't even know, actually.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. If you include the snare, you're up to 9, I think.
My band Slob Drop plays a show in Springfield, Vermont, and there was a person at one of our shows one time, and he was like, hey, my father-in-law is selling his drum set. He sent me a picture of like cases, but I knew it was a Tama, and I didn't see all the cases. And he told me what he wanted for it, and I was like, oh, great. I'll come by and check it out. And I showed up and it was this. And I was like, are you sure? Like, this is like obviously worth a lot more. And he's like, no, you own a studio. You're a real cool dude. So yeah, this is definitely one of those prized possessions for sure.
Man, I love it. Being friendly pays off.
Hey, I mean, I've been blessed in my life. A lot of people know I'm a drummer, and they know I take good care of my stuff and I use all my stuff, so I think that's part of it too.
All right, well, I gotta let you get ready to set up for the session today. Is there any cool highlights in here you wanna show off?
I could show you this little ISO booth that we built. This is
I love that. Perfect.
So, so you can isolate cabinets in here. And you can see I've got a spot for an instrument cable and a speaker cable, and then you can put up to 2 mics on the cab. It's not completely isolated, but the reason why I put that in here is because I have these room mics that are always planted on the ceiling. So what happens more often than not is we'll leave that door open when we're tracking drums in the main live room. I'll leave the door open and it's a super awesome ambient room sound. We'll probably use that today.
Nice. Yeah, and 2 rooms away, this is going to be very isolated, whatever you put in here.
Exactly. And it's pretty heavily insulated. Like I said, it's not dead quiet, especially with like any band that you would put a cab in there for. They're going to be wicked loud. But it definitely makes it so it's, you know, tolerable and basically a non-issue.
Yeah, and when you're using dynamic mics and stuff, it's plenty isolated.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, it's useful. Very useful. All right, well, thanks so much, Monty, for running through this tour with me. We're going to get started on your session here with the band Wound Liquor, and I'll have a video of that coming out pretty soon. So see you on that one. Cheers.